Hello, what about you? I'm Andy, and welcome back to my channel, where I like to make stuff from anything I can find, really. So if that's something you fancy, stick around. And this build is for the March of Robots. It's another friendly build-off challenge on Instagram, set by Markmakesmechs, and it's inspired by the artwork of Gastron. So before we get into my build, here's a build from Emerson Ward. If you follow Emerson on Instagram, you already know his builds are just fantastic. Just amazing attention to detail and a perfect paint job. Nicely done, Emerson. Nailed it again, man. Well done. So, on to my build. And I chose this one just because it was a similar design to some of my lid bats. And the colour was just pretty cool. I like that purple. So yeah, just broke them down into shapes really, just sort of basic shapes. And then laid out some of my bits boxes just to have a quick poke through. I pretty much know what's in them, but it's good to have a quick look just in case there's something I forgot about. But this one's pretty much just eggs and ping pong balls and a few clamps and things like that. But I don't think there's anything you can really use in here. It's pretty much when I broke it down into basic shapes, I've got a tube basically just to work with first, like a cylinder that'll bulk out from there. So there's a few bits of PVC pipe here. A few spoons and stuff there as well. But yeah, I think these pieces of PVC pipes would do lovely. They're already cut to about the right size. So I'll start with those. And then obviously a few lids. Can't seem to make a build now without using lids. But yeah, that's what I'll use to bulk out sort of the basic shape. So I'll get some other bits and pieces together and then I'll take it from there. So I've got my piece of PVC pipe. Like I was saying, that'll be perfect for the main body there. And I'll just close it off with some plastic card. And this is it's quite thick plastic card. I'll close it off with that, and then bulk out his body a wee bit more with some of these Lego pieces, just on the bottom there, and some on towards the back. And just to make them look a bit less like Lego, I'll use my snips just to take off those knobbly bits. And then I've got a few of these plastic sticks. They're from like a Connects kit, or like a stick click sticks, I think they were called. And then usual lids, they'll go on the sides there. I'll bulk them out just a wee bit more. And they're just some orange juice lids, I think. And then some of these vape bottle lids, and they're going to be perfect for some thrusters on either side there. They're just the perfect shape. So yeah. Oh, and then I can't forget these wee pieces of Lego. I think they're going to be a good start for his sort of arms or his hands. So I'll probably use those just for the hands. And then usually get all the plastics singed first, and just because I can see it does help things stick together when you give the plastic a sort of lick with a flame first. And then get my knobbly bits cut off my pieces of Lego. Here I've got my baking powder ready, and I've pre-drilled a wee hole here because I'm gonna stick a bead in here first, just for a nice sort of eye or sort of camera socket, whatever you want to call it. And so I'll stick that in first. And that'll be just a nice wee detail. And then yep, my pieces of plastic card cut just down to size to stick on the sides. So I'll just get these glued on. Usual procedure, some super glue and some baking powder. But I have to remember that I already pre-scored it with my knife. I just went around this with my knife, sanded it flat first, and then scored it up with my knife, just to give that glue plenty of tooth to grip to. And then I've got a wee dab of baking powder there on this bit of plastic card ready to go, and I scratched it up with my knife first, again just so the baking powder has some grooves to fall into. I'll throw a wee bit more seasoning in just to make sure, and then I'll take a toothpick and just run it around the join there, because I want this join to be as clean as possible. So I'll put on a wee bit more baking powder and then run around it with my toothpick just to sort of tidy it up a wee bit before I trim it off. I'll be trimming this off too and giving it a sand, but it just should make it a bit easier. And then yep, just get the other one stuck on, and then after they're dry, just let them sit for a wee while just to let them dry, and then come back with my Stanley knife and trim that up and give it a bit of a sand just to get it all nice and flush. And that's the start of the body really. I'm just going to build out from there. So I've got a few more pieces of plastic card cut, and this is just another panel for the front here. This is just to give it that desired look. So I'm just going to wrap that around. It wraps around pretty easily. I thought I might have to heat it up in hot water just to sort of conform to the shape, but no, it's fine. And then I'll stick my lids on the side here just to bulk them out a wee bit more. And just my orange juice lids, but to sort of take away that ridged lid shape, I'm going to take another couple of strips of plastic card and just cover those up, and that'll just completely get rid of that obvious lid shape. And then I just took a load of string and wrapped it all up real tight. It worked a treat. Like I said, I've seen guys heating up the plastic card in hot water, but this worked fine. Just plastered the glue on, put it on where I needed it, and then wrapped it up. And when it was wrapped, I sprinkled on a wee bit of baking powder. Any gaps or anything in the side there, just filled it in with some more glue and baking powder and sanded it flat. And yeah, it's worked a treat. So just set that there. Moving on, get this string out of the way and see about bulking out the bottom a wee bit here. I've got my Lego pieces again. I've hit these with my blowtorch and given them a light sand, and I'm just going to sort of stick them in this kind of arrangement. It doesn't really matter what gaps that they leave because I can fill all that gap in later. And then my thrusters will go on something like this. I've shaped them a wee bit on the end there with my Stanley knife, just to sort of make them fit better to the body, and just trying to give that glue as much surface area as possible to grip to. So I've got the bottom pieces stuck on here. Like I said, filled it in a wee bit at the front there with some baking powder and glue, but the sides there don't matter too much at all. And then for my more side pieces here, I've got some plastic knife handles. So I've cut those down and notched them out, and they're just going to be perfect for the side pieces here that hold these tanks. So I'll stick them on something like that. And again, usual procedure, scratch it up with my knife first, and scratch both surfaces as well with my knife, and hit a wee lick with the blowtorch. And then I'll just put my super glue on one side, and then on the other side I'll put in some of that baking powder. And this just makes a really strong bond because the baking powder goes into the grooves that I've cut with a knife, and it just ensures that it gets a really good grip. So yeah, get those stuck on both sides. I'll get the other one done something like this, and then I can see about getting these thrusters attached. So I did a wee bit of shaping with my Stanley knife. This is just going to give them plenty of surface area for that glue to grip to, and just help them stick better as always. Dip them into my baking powder. So while I'm getting those sorted, might as well show off another build. This one's from CraftyRic, and I'll make sure to leave all the CraftyRic's details in the description there, because this build is just unbelievable. Kraken build, pretty much identical to the artwork, and as you'll see from this video here, the freaking thing moves. Unbelievable, just brilliant, Rick. Unbelievable work, well done, man. Just crazy. So make sure you check out CraftyRic's YouTube channel there, links below. So I got my thruster sorted, starting to take shape now. I think it's looking pretty good. Still a wee bit to go yet. So I'm gonna get a panel on the back here. Obviously, because the artwork's just from the front, I'm just gonna make up the back as I go, kind of thing. So I'll just start blocking it out a wee bit with some of this garden wire first, because I wanna get this in first before I stick that panel on. I won't be able to get at it. So I'll get this bit of wire stuck in here, and then I'll get this panel on over the top, and that should cover up some of those unsightly gaps there. And yeah, I don't really know what I'm going to fill this panel up with, but I'm sure I'll come up with something. It's going to be a pretty big canvas to fill kind of thing. It'll need lots of nice wee details on it. So I'll see what I can come up with that later. And then he's got another wee detail on the front here. This is like a wee vent. It's like you can see this sort of goldy yellowy vent on the top here. So could just cut another piece of plastic card and cut it to shape, and it should stick nicely on the top, something like that. It's maybe not quite as detailed as I would like, but no, it serves its purpose. I think it'll do spot on, especially when I get it painted up. And then I got that larger panel stuck on the back there first. I got it stuck on first and stuck that smaller one over the top of that. So yeah, starting to take shape. Definitely happy with how he's going. So I need to figure out some arms. So I kind of mocked this up. Just that's the sort of shape I'm going to go for. I'm going to try and use Milliput just on the ends, just to bulk out the hands a wee bit. But you can see the sort of general shape there. It's again just a couple of those plastic tubes that I had. It was a wee pack out of the pound shop, like a wee plastic construction kit. So I just cut those plastic sticks down and drilled them out. Some of them were hollow, some of them weren't. I did have to drill majority of them out, and then I'm just separating them here with a bead and threading it all together with some wire. And that's going to be the construction for the arms and hands. And the main part of the hands is just a bead there cut with the end cut off it. I was going to use those pieces of Lego, but they're just maybe a wee bit small, so I found a couple of beads in the perfect shape. And then I've got some more plastic card panels, and these are just to cover up the holes on the pieces of Lego. So I just cut those to size and give them sort of irregular edges, kind of rounded off the edges a wee bit. And using my wee poker tool, pushed in some rivets, just with it's just a sharp object really. And then for the small bumpers on the bottom here, I just took a couple of pieces of aluminium wire and just bent it to shape, drilled my holes out and just pushed it in the bottom there. They're just like wee, that's what I'm calling them anyway, for wee bumpers on the bottom, I think, for when he lands kind of thing. And just gonna sort of detail those up a wee bit with some plastic tube on the ends, just to give that wee bit extra detail, makes them look like they're more fixed to the body of the bot, you know. So I'll get those stuck on. Again, just using my super glue this time. I'll not use any baking powder because I want to keep that joint nice and clean, and get those stuck in and looking good. And you can see there I've got a couple of beads stuck on just to take the arms. That's just for the arms to go into. And take some more aluminium wire just for this rail along the top that it carries his aerials. So I used my plastic tube again from my spray bottles, just to make those wee sort of carriers for that aerial or antenna type things, whatever you want to call it. They're pretty much wee rabbit ears sticking out the top, so that'll carry those. But before I stick that rail in place, I'll put on a couple of pieces of this plastic spray bottle tube, just some more pieces from a plastic spray bottle tube. Really handy stuff. It's really good for all sorts of things. So the rabbit ears, or the antenna for the top here, I just cut the shape from some plastic card and doubled it up and stuck a wee bit of armature wire in between the two layers, and they're going to stick in there, something like that. But I won't be putting those on just yet. I'll need to get this reel stuck on first, so I'll just get that done and then I can move on. Alrighty, that's that sorted. And you can see where I added those sort of extra bits of spray bottle tube, just to give that wee bit of extra detail. And then just to bulk out the body a wee bit more, I've made up another one of my Lego bricks here with the knobbly bits cut off, and I'm just going to stick one underneath and then a smaller one on the front here. But before I do anything else, I should really show off another build. This is another fantastic build from Turian by Aaron, and again I'll leave all his details in the description. They're well worth checking out his channel, and you really got to check out the video for this build. You'd be surprised at what he built this with. Just brilliant work, man. Well done, Aaron. Alrighty, time for some Milliput. I love this stuff. It's just a two-part epoxy putty. Just mix the two parts together and you get a great putty for sculpting with. And I'm just going to use it to bulk out my hands a wee bit here, and then I'll use a wee bit on the rabbit ears. So I'll just get my parchment paper out here just to keep my cutting mat tidy and get this unwrapped. And then I'll just cut two equal parts and just mix those parts together and wrap this back up again here. And then I'll just mix these parts together until they're both a nice even colour. And that's it, ready to work with. So I'm going to be using this, like I said, on the hands and on the antenna, but also want to bulk out the sides here, just where I've stuck on these plastic knife handles. That's just where those tanks go on. So I'll just push it in there and smooth it out, and then I'll roll a couple of wee balls just to bulk it out towards the top. And that means I've already got some pre-made wee tanks that I had from another build, just made from Sculpting. And once I get all this sort of shaped out and smoothed out, I can push that tank straight into the Milliput. And just taking a brush here and just some water, and just brushing it on and smoothing this out, just removing my fingerprints and smoothing it all together. And these are the wee tanks I was talking about. They're like wee sausages, but just Sculpting that I've cooked for way too long. And just this is just straight after smoothing. I haven't really waited for it to dry or anything. I'll just push it straight into the Milliput, and the Milliput will grip that just perfect. And yeah, that's that detail on the side. I'll just detail it up a wee bit more with some beads later on, but that's looking good for now. And then I'll just take my hands and my wee rabbit ear antenna and just bulk those out a wee bit more with my whatever Milliput I have left here. And this is the next day now. I've left this to dry overnight and it's nice and solid. It has gripped those tanks really well. I don't need to glue them or anything. They're stuck well in there. And then you can see the wee rabbit ears that I've made. I'm not quite happy with them. I think they're a wee bit too bulky. I've sanded them down a wee bit, but I think I might have to make some more. But that's no problem. I'll keep them to one side. I'm sure I'll use them for something at some stage, but you can see they're just maybe a wee bit too big. Well, for my liking anyway. So I'll put those to one side. And then the hands here, I've just bulked those out with my Milliput, just to give them the desired look. I think that looks pretty good. And I'm going to take these are just wee small strips of plastic card. I'm going to stick those along the arm there just to give the arm a wee bit of detail. And then for the fingers, I've just took the ends off those click sticks. It's just the wee ends off these plastic sticks. They're going to make cool wee sort of clasper fingers. I think that they suit the look. So I'm going to put a second coating of Milliput over those hands, and I'll just push it directly into the Milliput when I do that. And then I'm going to take those beads that I didn't use for the hands and stick those underneath there for some wire connectors. So I'll just get those stuck on, and then I have a load of other wee beads there that I'm going to stick in and around the same place, and that's just going to be connectors for more wires. I try to think of it as if it's a working model kind of thing, and where the wires would go and what they would do, or what the pipes would be, what they would be pumping and where it would be going. So I just try to keep that in mind when I'm putting in connections for wires, or when I'm putting in wires on a bot, So just a few more beads and stuff just here and there, just again for those wire connections to go into later on. Alrighty, so there's like a small clasp on the front of the bot that I'm going to sort of try and replicate here with some cable ties. And I've got my small bits of plastic card there on the arm, and I've cut a few more small pieces of plastic card here just for the detail around the eye, just to try and get that detail on the eye there. And I'm just using a toothpick there with a piece of blue tack on the end of it, just to help me pick up these small pieces and move them around into position. But that seems to help. So get those done, and then time to mix up a bit more Milliput, because I want to make these, I think they're like exhausts on the top here. That's what I'm interpreting them as anyway. So I've just made that up with some more Milliput, and then I'm going to take some beads. I've got just various different beads here that are going to make some details here in the thrusters, and then put some more detail on the back of those exhausts. And you can see I've remade my rabbit ear antenna. I think these are much better. They're just not as bulky as the first ones that I built, and they're going to fit nicely in there. And then I've took some more garden wire, just to connect the exhausts here to the body of the bot. And then just for a few more surface details, I've took some different sizes of cable tie and just cut it up into small sort of lengths. I'm just going to stick it here and there just for a few more details. And then I've got some of these tiny beads. These things are tiny, but they're going to make great wee connectors for the tanks. I got these just from breaking down a load of costume jewellery. Well, when I say it was Melanie. So thank you, Melanie. That was from a load of costume jewellery got from the charity shop. And so I'm just going to stick those around in places where the tanks need connectors, and get all my beads in place as well. So while I'm getting on with that, I might as well show off another build. This one's by Markmakesmechs, and Mark was the one that actually put this challenge out there in the first place. So thanks for that, Mark, and thanks for letting us all get involved. And his builds are coming along real nicely. No paint on them yet, but I can relate to that. Nicely done so far, Mark. Alrighty, so I've got a few more beads stuck here and there for connectors, and I got my exhaust connected up. And now I want to get a wee bit of detail on the back here. So I've got a few more sections of this sort of thick cable tie, and I'm going to stick it along this back panel a bit like a radiator. And then for my exhausts, I've cut a couple more lengths of my good old tube from inside a spray bottle, and it's just going to make a nice nozzle here for the end of the exhausts. So that's the plan for that. And then I'll just test fit my rabbit ear antenna here, just to see what they look like. And then I can see about getting the arms attached. I was holding off on getting the arms attached just because I needed to make a base first, just to elevate them a wee bit. So I've just made a rough base here just from a block of wood, and this is a piece of wire coat hanger. So that'll keep them up off the ground, and it means I can get the arms attached without having to worry about setting them down and maybe them getting broken or bent up. So while I'm getting everything glued up, might as well show off another build. These are from Jonny Simpleton, and these are actually 2 builds that he did, and although he's not one for following the rules, he did come up with 2 pretty awesome bots. So nicely done, Jonny. I always look forward to seeing what he comes up with. It's always pretty cool, and I'll leave all Jonny's details there in the description as usual. Alrighty, so nearly there. That's I think all the details that I'm going to stick on. Well, bar maybe a couple of tanks here that still need to be glued on. But yeah, I think if I put any more beads on, I'm just going to have to fill all the holes in the beads with wires. So I think that'll do it for now. So I'll just get a couple more of these tanks glued on. Again, these are just ones I had left over from another build. I just wrapped a wee piece of plastic card around it there just to make it look like there's a wee bit of strapping on it, and sanded one side flat. And yeah, I'm just going to stick those on the back here just for a wee bit of extra detail. I'll probably end up putting beads on them too, just to make it look like there's wiring or tubing of some sort going into them. But if I can get away with not doing it, I will. Alrighty, tank secured. Now move on to some wiring. And I've just got normal electrical wire here. It's just some normal electrical wire, and then I've got some Ethernet cable that I broke down. It has really good sort of thin wire within it, or telephone wire. I have some of it as well. So yeah, basically all different sorts of gauge wire that I can get my hands on, and I'll just, like I say, go around filling all those holes, trying to keep in mind maybe what they're pumping or where they're going to and from. And I ended up putting a few more beads on the back here. I couldn't help myself. But overall I think it's looking brilliant. Pretty much ready for primer now. I'll just get it primed up and get it ready for some glamour shots. But before that, back to me in the craft room. Alrighty, so there you have it. Now I just need to get them painted, and I was thinking about doing that on a live stream, so keep an eye out for that. And as always, thanks for watching, and I hope this was helpful. Any questions or comments, you just know where to go there, down below, work away, and remember, there are no stupid questions here. And a big thank you to all my Patreon supporters: Luke, Cooper, Matt, Barry, David, Voxelbox, Richard, The Craftsman, Heidi, Wes, Matt, Maggie, Sean, Cavo, Alice, Helena, Jackson, and not forgetting my 2 newest supporters, Josh and Spidermath. Thank you, really appreciate it. And thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!